Welcome to the Interesting Documentary YouTube channel. Have you ever thought about the power of the pharaohs, the secrets of the pyramids, and the civilization of the Nile River? If so, then you've come to the right place. In this video, we'll travel thousands of years back together and explore the history of ancient Egypt, from the first settlements and magnificent rulers to the daily lives of its people. Get ready to dive into a world of pharaohs, gods, and monumental structures. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our latest video. And now, embark on this extraordinary journey through time with Interesting Documentary. Mesopotamia is considered the cradle of some of the earliest civilizations, including the Sumerians, who established well-organized kingdoms at the dawn of the Bronze Age. Clearly, people didn't solely inhabit Mesopotamia at that time. They lived across a large portion of the world, with most being nomads or residing in small villages. Around 7,500 years ago, some groups migrated to North Africa, where they founded villages and spread along the Nile Valley in regions now known as Upper and Lower Egypt. This area was chosen because the Nile River was vital for their survival. The river was instrumental in the development of Egyptian culture, which the ancient Egyptians also associated with the Nile. They called the Nile River Eteru, meaning the Great River, considering it as a gift from the gods to all living beings. The annual floods of the Nile moistened the soil, and the deposited sediment made the land dark and fertile, enabling agriculture. One of the names Egyptians used for their land was Kemet, the Black Land, emphasizing the importance of fertile soil. The most notable region is the Nile Delta, where the river branches into several tributaries flowing into the Mediterranean Sea and where the majority of the population resides. As with the Mesopotamian peoples, the dominance of agriculture was a key factor in the early Egyptians' trade and cultural development. Over time, settlements evolved into independent cities. Soon, the first rulers emerged, proclaiming themselves kings of these territories. Around 5,100 years ago, a king from Upper Egypt launched a military campaign against other cities. The identity of this king is still debated today. Archaeological findings suggest the existence of a semi-legendary king who, according to sources from that period, was a descendant of Horus. This enigmatic king was likely known as Narmer or Menes. Although there are clear indications that the name Narmer was used, more detailed research suggests that Menes was an honorary title, meaning the one who successfully united Lower and Upper Egypt. He is considered the first pharaoh of Egypt. Narmer initiated the first Egyptian dynasty, which was followed by 30 more dynasties over the centuries. Narmer founded the city of Memphis, which served as the capital of ancient Egypt for a long time, due to its strategic geographical location that ensured control points within Egyptian territory. Memphis had a port on the River Nile with workshops for pottery and clothing. These goods were then transported by river using boats to neighboring cities. Even in their early history, Egyptians clashed with neighboring peoples. For example, some Nubian and Lebanese tribes did not recognize Egyptian dominance over the fertile territories. These groups constantly skirmished with the Egyptians, conducting raids into their lands and attacking smaller villages and cities. They provoked violent conflicts and hindered the distribution of goods throughout the region. It's possible that Pharaoh Narmer married a North African princess named Neferhotep. This marriage was formed for political reasons, to quell disputes over Egyptian territory. Neferhotep was the first queen of Egypt and, perhaps, the first pharaoh after Narmer's death. If so, she would be the first woman in history to rule a dynasty. Neferhotep's name is found in various places, such as tombstones and sacred objects, which emphasizes her importance as a founder of the first dynasty. She is one of the oldest known queens in ancient Egypt, whose name is known to historians. Throughout most of ancient Egyptian history, pharaohs played a more significant role than is traditionally attributed to kings or emperors. Egyptians considered them sacred beings, At that time, Egyptians believed that pharaohs had inherited divine blood. They were descendants of Horus. For this reason, only those who belonged to the same bloodline had the right to the throne. This explains why women also occupied the throne throughout Egyptian history. In modern nations, often only men had the right to rule, but Egyptians would always choose a woman with divine blood over a man who could merely govern without such blood. Pharaohs were also the chief commanders of the army, the highest magistrates, and the chief priests. The pharaoh was the closest human to the gods. Despite all the privileges available to pharaohs, their lives were not particularly easy. Some took on the burden of ruling the nation before reaching the age of 12. The heir to the royal throne was prepared for these duties from childhood. He had to learn military tactics, the history of kingdoms, and military achievements. He also had to learn to read, write, and memorize religious ceremonies. Nevertheless, pharaohs held power for a relatively short time. Their rule was often interrupted by invaders from neighboring nations or coups. To extend the pharaoh's rule, ritualistic festivals were held annually in specific temples. The goal was to strengthen the pharaoh's connection with the gods. If a pharaoh managed to remain in power for about 30 years, a grand celebration would be organized to extol his reign. After his death, he was honored with ritualistic feasts, songs, and rites of passage to the afterlife. Around 4,686 years ago, the so-called Old Kingdom era began. It is also known as the Age of Pyramids. During this period, Egypt had already established itself as an empire, maintaining close trade relations with the nations of Lebanon, Palestine, and Mesopotamia. Egypt became a very wealthy land during the ancient empire, experiencing significant artistic and architectural breakthroughs. The paintings adorning temples and palaces were created with great mastery, and their proportions were calculated with extreme precision. Dyes extracted from plants and minerals, as well as from the blood of insects and animals, were used to achieve brighter colours. As a result, many drawings have retained their colours and brilliance to this day. The drawings depicted scenes ranging from daily life to significant events, such as abundant harvests, the coronation of pharaohs, or natural disasters. Gods and secret rituals occupied an important place in artistic representations. Many of the most famous stories about Egyptian gods were told through paintings and carvings on palace walls and in tombs. In the economy, all production was accounted for and recorded, which allowed for a more accurate allocation of resources. Government officials collected taxes and encouraged peasants to work on crops or in construction. They also created a legal system, granting freedom to leading patrols such as soldiers who pursue criminals. During the Old Kingdom, the military also developed. Soldiers already had breastplates made of wool or leather plates, and shields made of wood covered with leather. The iconic Khopesh sword appeared during this period. Around 4,200 years ago, Egypt was struck by a severe drought, which lasted for about 140 years. This led to widespread famine, and the economic and social situation severely deteriorated. Instability plagued Egypt, and the pharaoh's government lost control of its territories. Some provinces further from the capital rebelled and declared independence. The leaders of the rebel provinces stopped paying taxes to the central government and eventually began to increase their own treasures by hiring criminals and deserters as personal defenders. A type of mafia leader emerged. During this period, two groups stood out, one ruling Lower Egypt from the city of Heracleopolis, and the other ruling Upper Egypt from Thebes. Around 4,055 years ago, Menahotep II, leading the forces of Thebes, defeated the rulers of Heracleopolis, reunifying Egypt and initiating the Middle Kingdom period.